Welcome to O's Across the Pond, the show covering all things Baltimore Orioles, but from a fresh European perspective. Join us for the highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, and everything in between. Whether you're a die-hard fan or just discovering Birdland, this is your home for passionate, across-the-pond Orioles talk. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of O's Across the Pond. In today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the Tigers series and also previewing the Angels series. As usual, from down south, Andy's joined me.
Good evening.
Evening, Andrew. And you may notice we've got a very special guest. Now, those in the UK who are big on baseball and the social media side of things will probably recognise Nick's face, especially if you are an LA Angels fan. Welcome to the show, Nick. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you very much for having me. Great to come on and chat.
Yeah, so listeners, we tried to get Nick on earlier on in the season, but at the time, his football team he supports, Tottenham, were playing in Europe, which, you know, a few of us are like, why would you miss the podcast to watch Tottenham? But as it happens, they ended up going on and winning a European trophy, so we'll let you off for that one, Nick. Obviously, you've got a massive social media following, Nick, LA Angels UK. You're a huge part of MLB Clubhouse UK. So, basically, why the Angels? And then just tell us a little bit more about MLB Clubhouse UK.
Yeah, why the Angels? I ask myself that quite a lot, to be honest.
You're in good company with the Orioles, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
certainly could have chosen a better team to support. East Coast would have been nicer. A team that wins would have been even nicer. But alas, it wasn't to be. The Angels largely went over there on holiday a fair few times when I was a child for Disneyland. Was watching in a hotel room late at night in Anaheim, watched Sunday Night Baseball. I think the Cardinals were playing against someone and just kind of got hooked on it. I mean, I was a big sports person anyway. I think I was 10 years old at this point. Loved what I was seeing. Told my parents, like, let's go to a game. Went down to Angel Stadium that trip and just fell in love with the whole atmosphere. I mean, I think anyone that's ever been to a ballpark, and you can go to any sport in the world, there's something different about a ballpark. There's something different about sitting there and watching baseball. And at that point, it was just like in the Southern Californian sun, like all the vendors coming down, everything going on the field, all around you, the action, just incredible. So it started like growing my interest then. Then it got later and later. We kept going back every other year. So I'd go to a few games when I was growing up. And then I think when I got to university, that's when it sort of like really got hooked because you'd come in, particularly that's when the time zones really helped. Come in from a night out, be like 2, 3 in the morning, stick the game on, watch it through, whatever, and just fell in love with the team then. So yeah, it's been a rocky ride then. I started supporting them in 2002. They won the World Series. It has been all downhill from there ever since.
And obviously, you work with MLB Clubhouse UK. You know, it's huge in the UK, and like the events that they put on. There was one in the Northwest last week, up at Hickories in West Kirby. I didn't get a chance to go to it due to prior commitments, but we see these events cropping up all the time now, and obviously it's great exposure for the sport. What is the like kind of aim and the long-term goal of MLB Clubhouse UK?
Honestly, it's just to bring people together. It's to grow the game we love. We know it's still a niche sport over here, but it is growing. I mean, being able to connect, I mean, even doing stuff like this is just amazing that we're able to connect with each other like all over the country. We know baseball fans exist here. We know that the sport is growing. We know that MLB have put a lot into the UK and the European markets now. They're continuing to try and push it. And what we're trying to do is just give people the opportunity to come together, watch games. We put on monthly watch parties. They're largely in London because myself and George, the other person that runs this, are based in London. But we've said all along, we want to do these across the country. This is not just a London thing. We want people to be able to go and put their own events on, and we're happy to promote them. We want to push them. We're like, we'll do any of the promo for you. If you come along, you find a venue, even if it's just 4 people going along and watching a game on a Thursday afternoon or whatever it is, it's great and it's exposure. And I think we can all speak to this, I think. it's so nice to be able to actually watch it together. We're all stuck, aren't we, watching MLB TV at home, like maybe on an iPad, like in the corner. Like, just being able to come together and watch it and experience that and talk about it is just great. So we've been doing that since 2017. We're continuing to try and grow the sport, bring new people in as well. We want to attract the new folk. We want to have a place for long-standing fans to come and gather and just continue to push this sport.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of the events up at Passyunk Avenue. We had one over at Nine Elms, but we've had a couple, especially when we got to the playoffs, and there was a big gathering. And you're right, there are so many people, even just in and around London, that can come together. The game times, especially on Saturday and Sunday, are actually pretty good.
Yeah,
and that's the prime time. I mean, we criticise the schedule that we've got. I mean, we're in a mire of late games, West Coast games. So we're with you at this at the moment because Thomas has been. I don't think he's had an hour's sleep for the last 6 weeks because we've been playing. We went to Seattle. We went to no city at all for the Athletics. We're now back, and then we've got a run of midnight games, and with the Friday night game tonight, which is unheard of for the Orioles at the moment, but Apple TV makes it a little more difficult for us. But it is a niche sport, but it's not as niche as people think now. I think it's growing, and Thomas had the MLB UK person on the other day, and
Chris Knobloch from TVB.
Absolutely. So he was pushing, and we've got the London series this year again, and then next year, and it can only get bigger. So it's really good to get everyone together and pushing. And the Angels Stadium is one of the nicer ones I've been to. I did the same. We did a West Coast trip, and we were all the Orioles supporters, but went and watched the 3-game series there. I think we won 3-0. It's a very hazy memory. I don't think we did, but back in the days of Melvin Mora, Miguel Tejada, and a few people that the Angels had that I can't remember, but they were probably good at the time. But no, you're right. Every stadium is different over there as well. And whilst we had the stadium that forever changed baseball, we need to update ours badly now, and that's happening. Angel Stadium, probably the same as when we went. Hasn't changed much with the waterfall, and lovely stadium, but we just need to push it more. And this pod and every other pod that we're seeing, it's getting great exposure and getting guests on and getting people in from single A ball clubs, from Masson, which is the Orioles way of broadcasting. It's really moving forward, and it's so positive. And what we're on episode 21 of this already, which is absolutely incredible.
With another 4 that needs a release.
Indeed. Well, as I said, he hasn't got any sleep. He hasn't had any sleep because all he's doing is editing podcasts.
I think I appreciate that. We struggle to keep on a regular schedule. I've noticed how regularly you've been with them and been able to churn them out. So it is impressive to find the time to be able to do it. But I think I'm sure you notice it. I mean, people appreciate it. People appreciate that regularity and knowing that they've got something to listen to and our perspectives. I mean, I don't know what your audience is at the moment, but I know for me, it's very mixed between UK, US, other parts of the world. And I think people appreciate that we do have a different perspective when we watch it at the middle of the night and from so far away. And it's not quite as tribal, I guess. It's not quite as ingrained in us in terms of, you go when you're in an area and you're locked in and it's all around you, you do get different perspectives to when you can take a bit of a step back from it, as we can.
Yeah, so, I mean, in regards to us, I think last week we hit over 1,000 streams and downloads across all platforms, so that mainly Apple and Spotify, and then we've recently started uploading the episodes to YouTube. And the demographic we've seen, about 30% is the US, and then 60% is the UK, and then Europe. But we've even had, I was checking the other day, Indonesia. I mean, how many of them are bots? I don't know, but I mean, in the States, we've been listened to in 20 of the 50 states. So my goal is let's get the 50 done, and we've had great feedback. Even some of the guests that come on. Andy said yesterday we had Annie Clapham from Masson. We had Michael Marcantonini, who is the Aberdeen Iron Birds colour broadcaster for our high A affiliate. So that was good to get a perspective. And a lot of pods, even, I mean, I don't know what it's like for you as Angels fans, but there's a lot of Orioles pods where, from what we know, we are the only European one and UK one. But even, a lot of the pods in the US, they of course, they'll cover everything across the organisation. But like the minor league stuff, you've got like one specialist podcast, the Baltimore minor league podcast, but the others don't really cover it as much. And we've just set out, look, part of growing the game in the UK is it's not just Major League Baseball. There is your AAA, your AA, your high A, your single A, and development. And sometimes if you're going on a trip to the States, and you can't get to a big league game, there's a chance that you'll be able to get to a minor league game. Yeah. And what people don't realise is you could be seeing, like, the next star. You could be seeing the next Manny Machado. Yeah. I mean, he didn't really play much in the minors because he was that good. He got Zoom States. You could be seeing the next Jackson Holiday, the next Mike Trout. And I think it's just about exposing the whole game. Like, we try not to go, like, we'll talk stats and that, but a lot of people, especially when I was new to the game, I don't know about yourself, Andy, I think with any sport, you just want to try and get to grips with the basics and try and understand what's going on. We will go into players and we will talk about them, but I'd like to think we're not too stat heavy and bombard people and just let people appreciate the love of the game and grow with it, naturally.
You're absolutely right. We don't want necessarily to look at all the. We understand the stats, of course we do, because we're ardent Orioles fans, and you have to know the stats. But we're also here for people that aren't baseball fans to start thinking about getting interested in it. And if you see something with a British accent, you might listen to it. And if you then get a friend of a friend, and we're seeing, we've got our own WhatsApp group, which is just growing exponentially with new people that were slightly interested, but now they've listened to a pod, they've subscribed, hopefully, and they're now interested in the next thing. And it's to help those people as well. And we've got people of all experiences of baseball. And not everyone's going to know all the details. So it's sometimes we need to step back and say, look, let's have a look at a couple of minor league players today to see where we're going. We'll talk about trades, but we'll do it from a different perspective. And I'm sure you do the same.
Yeah, exactly. I echo all of that. I think we value being able to talk in the round, not so stat heavy. I mean, if you want stats, there are places to go. There are people that live and breathe this game. I mean, that's what they do. That's not necessarily what we need to do. It's not the niche. It's not the market. It's, as you say, if we can get more British people listening to us and deciding this is a sport for them, that's what it's all about. That's what Clubhouse is all about. That's what Angels UK is all about. So yeah, I'm fully on board with that.
So obviously we've got one of the other reasons we've got you on is the series coming up starting tonight, 3-game series, Angels at the Orioles. Obviously, earlier on in the season, when the O's went out to Anaheim, both teams were languishing, bottom of the respective divisions. Obviously, the Orioles bottom of the AL East and the Angels bottom of the AL West. The O's won that series, but since then, the last 10 for the Angels, 7-3. You've just swept the Athletics, who, we know that we struggled against last week. What's been the turnaround? Is it as simple as, Mike Trout coming back? Is it what has been? Because I like both organisations are similar. In recent years, there's murmurings of issues, behind closed doors with ownership, and that's what has been the turnaround in the last, kind of 20 games.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm not sure I'm fully buying it just yet. But I think ultimately what we are seeing is the players that we wanted to make progression and steps forward are making steps forward. We have a really young core now. I'm sure the Angels rushed up a lot of their prospects. Not much time in the minors. We've been drafting players basically on that college level, upper college, just so they can come straight in. And we've seen progression. Like Zach Neto is a genuine, excellent ball player. Probably will be an all-star for a fair bit of his career. Nolan Shanuel this year has really come on leaps and bounds recently. Just gets on base, he hits, doesn't strike out much. He's the sort of guy you want in a lineup. Logan O'Hoppe looks like an all-star catcher. He'll probably be the Angels representative, I think, of the all-star team this year. Like, those young players even Joe Adell, if you look at Joe Adell, and I'm not a big Joe Adell fan, but he's made loads of strides recently. The numbers are good. He's actually, if you take away the start to this season, he's like a top 5 outfielder in baseball in terms of what he's been doing at the plate. So that production has been happening. And actually, the turnaround, I think, has been the bullpen. Up until a couple of weeks ago, we had the worst bullpen in baseball by far. And actually, they've gone on a really solid stretch now. Because the arms are good. They were never as bad as the numbers showed they were. They just had some blow-ups and we were losing games. But now, if you look at across the board, really, the bullpen is excellent. So I think we have the best record in one-run games in the majors. I think we're something like 15-6 or something in one-run games. So that says it all. Thankfully, when we're getting these leads late, we are managing to hold them. Or also, actually, we've seen a few wins this year where the clutch hitting has come through. And actually, we have fallen behind, but we've been able to come back, which isn't something I necessarily associate with Angels of the past. So I am... You've caught me at a slightly optimistic moment where we're back to one game off 500.
Yeah,
we've done that. We did that a couple of weeks ago. We won 8 games in a row because we were really languishing, got back to 500 and then lost 5 in a row. And that kind of sums up who the Angels are usually. So this is why I don't want to believe it. But certainly the last few weeks, we've been winning games and winning games well. And long may it continue. And I think the final point on that is I think we are the only team in the majors that's only used 5 starting pitchers this year. So we're now in, mid-June, and we've had the same 5 guys go. And that's not necessarily the best thing because 2 of those guys are pretty high up on ERA lists and haven't necessarily given us the best starts. But it is something to be said. And a team that is usually injury ravished, right now it's holding okay. So, yeah, I think that's where we are currently.
So what have we got to look forward to on the pitching front coming to Camden Yards in the next 3 games? We are notoriously weak against left-handed pitchers, and guess what? You're sending out 2 of them to us. I was being fair, Thomas. We're absolutely awful against left-handed pitching, which is unusual because we're normally pretty strong against left-handed pitching. We've got a very lefty oriented base first 9 players really. So what do we expect to see from your pitchers, and then we'll go through ours and we'll trade insults.
I think tonight could be a really high scoring game. Kohanowitz on the mound for the Angels gives up a lot of runs and
good. Good.
But I think is it Morton on the mound tonight as well? Yeah.
Apparently so.
So I think tonight should be high scoring. The next 2 nights I'm more confident on. I mean, Tyler Anderson is a lot of smoke and mirrors. He just seems to keep putting together quality starts. You don't watch the starts and think this is a great pitcher. You don't watch the starts and think, well, I mean, he doesn't strike out loads of guys. There's lots of soft contact, but he'll give up runs. But it's usually like that 6-inning pitch, 3 earned runs, gets the quality start, moves on, and we tend to do well. And actually, he's lived up to his contract. I think there was a lot of skepticism when we signed him. I think it was like a 3-year, 45 million or whatever it was, 15 million a year deal. And he's actually lived up to it really well in the last year of his deal. He was an all-star last year for the Angels. So you got him on Saturday. And then Sunday, Yusei Kikuchi, who has been really, really good this year. Actually, again, it's a free agent signing that seems to have worked. I mean, it's quite early days still. But his last start was the best as a Halo. I think he went well into the 7th inning, didn't give up a run, barely gave up a hit, was looking really strong. And actually, we're just getting the production. We've paid him. I mean, he's the Angels' number 1 starter. On a good team, he's probably a number 3. But at the same time, we're getting a level of production from him where he's keeping us in games. And that's what we can say. Our starters this year have kept us in games on the whole. And that's really all you can ask for.
So, yeah, we're going to roll the Zimmer frame out again. So Charlie Morton is only 41. He has been much, much better over the last games, except the last one. The last one, he was back to his old, really bad self. If we get a good performance out of Charlie Morton, he's still not worth the 15 million we're paying him this year. But he gets you through and can get you through 7 innings. He's deceptive as well. His stuff's all right. He's just been a bit unlucky.
If he's got command over that curve, which is obviously his first 10 games, there was no curve, and that's what destroyed him. And then the total opposite of the Angels starters, none of our starters were given us, apart from Tomoyuki Shigano, maybe the odd one by Eflin and Dean Kramer here and there. None of them were getting into the the 5th, 6th, 7th inning apart from Sagano. So we had constant pressure on the bullpen, and we were going into games. We had 3-4 players who were on no days rest from the bullpen, and that's one of the reasons why we struggled, is just because of the lack of poor starts. As Andy said, Morton had turned a corner. His last game, he was awful. I'd put it that again. It was early on in the season. He said it was a mechanical issue. The last game, his arm was just way out ahead of him, and his like kind of his side was open like a barn door at a gale, and he really did struggle. I think. I mean, the blessed, you've said it's a high-scoring game. It's just whether our bats can continue. We put 10 on the other night against the Lions, the Tigers, thinking of the other Detroit team there.
Going all NFL on us.
It's not long now until the NFL starts. But yeah, it's kind of going into this year. I think for us, can we get the first win? If obviously with the pitching matchups, could we get a win tonight with Charlie Morton on the mound, and then obviously we've still got Tomoyuki Sagano to come, who he's only had 2 bad games. Coincidentally, both of them were kind of struggled with heat issues. The first one was in the dome in Toronto. It was humid, and even though it was like 3 degrees in Toronto, he was struggling in the heat in the dome. And then out in Sacramento, it was
he was really struggling, wasn't he? You could see he was just not looking right. Everything he looked as though he was heating up his whole body. I don't think he can cope with that difference. He likes everything to be regimented. Obviously, coming from Japan, where everything is very different, the baseball's different. We've spoken about this on the pod before. If we get the right Tommy Sagano, it's going to be a very low-scoring game. And then it's all about whether our right-handed bats can actually do something. We've got Jordan Westberg back, who started really well with 2 home runs in 2 games, but the rest of it is
close last night as well to a third.
He did. It was so near. So is he going to be the catalyst? I don't know. Our bullpen is actually pretty good. We've got some really good arms in there. We've got Keegan Aiken, we've got Brian Baker. We've got Cano, who seems to be back in form. Bautista. Kittredge, who has come off. So we've actually got a very, very strong bullpen now. I think the strongest we've had for at least since we were actually quite good beginning of last season. So if we can get through, we've got a very good chance. I mean, yesterday, we'll come to this later in the pod, but we only conceded 4 runs, which are all from the starting pitcher. So Dean Kramer had 1 bad inning, 4 runs, nothing else. It was zeros across the board.
And Nick, I don't know how much you might have seen of the O's this season, but if you go back and have a look, last week Kapovich had a decent start, but he did what we know, he did 1 bad inning. I think Eflin, Sagano, 1 bad inning. It's all that is what kills us. We could, for example, we could go 5 scoreless tonight. Then on the 6th, you'll put 4 or 5 on us, and it's just that's the way it goes. I mean, the big news coming out of LA coming into this series, obviously you had a day off yesterday travelling to the East Coast. You've just called up your top prospect, who was, believe it or not, drafted number 8 last year, infielder Christian Moore. What can we expect?
It'll be interesting to see. So he came into minors last year off the draft, and he absolutely tore the cover off the ball. He was ripping it up. I mean, his start was historical, almost level-wise. And then he cooled off at the start of this year. He couldn't hit breaking balls at all. He was striking out a lot. And then they moved him up to... He started warming up a little bit, and then they moved him up to AAA straight away, which is a classic Angels thing to do. They didn't really give him loads of time to show that growth was real. Moving up to AAA, and he's been hitting really well up there. So it's an easier environment, particularly the way it plays over there in Salt Lake City. It is a much easier place to hit. So I think we're all slightly skeptical about the level of performance in the minors and then the big step up to the majors here. He strikes out at like a 30% clip in the minors. So that's something to watch out for. And we are a team that this year has struck out more than anyone else in baseball. And that actually just takes to your point earlier about those big innings. That's how I see it as well. We'll probably go 5 innings tonight and strike out a lot. and then suddenly we can put it together and put a few hits together, and we hit a lot of home runs. So that's kind of how it comes. But on Christian Moore, what you'll see is power. I mean, the guy has got raw power. He can hit it over the fence. He's a classic Angels player this year. I think every single one of our lineup has the ability to put it over the fence, and that does go a long way. It's just about trying to get people on base first, so you get more than the solo shot. But I'm really excited to see him. We've had a big hole at second base, to be honest, this year. Luis Rengifo has been pretty awful. We thought he was going to be a guy. He had a great second half of last season. He had speed, he had power, he had a bit of everything. But this year he's been horrendous. So it's been a hole for us. But if you pair him in the infield with Zach Neto on one side, Nolan Shanuel at first, it's a real like promise for the Angels. You can see the future of the infield, and he's like that third piece of it, which we hope is going to start off really well.
Do you think he's going to get a long-term chance here? Is he up for good, or is it one of these that it needs must for now and then see how he goes? I mean, it could be both, of course.
I think it's probably a bit, but I think it is. I mean, if he really does struggle, they will move him down. But I don't think he's been brought up here to give him a taste and then send him back down again. It's not really how the Angels work. He is here to play every day, as far as I'm concerned. He's here to slot us into second base and give him an extended look and let him learn on the job. That's what we've done. We've let all of these young guys come up to the majors and learn on the job. And I think it probably says something for how the Angels view their development staff, to be quite frank. They just think they have the best opportunity of becoming better baseball players quicker.
Put him in the majors, yeah.
In the majors. So I think he'll be up for a while.
It's just one player I want to ask about. He's in my eyes and probably everyone's eyes, he's a future Hall of Famer. However, struggled a lot with injuries the last couple of years, and he was injured again this season. How important, this may sound like a daft question, how important is Mike Trout to this organisation going forward? Obviously, you've drafted so many young players and you've brought them up so quick. You're looking ahead for the next 3 to 5 years. How important is he for the development of these players and of the hopeful continued progress from your point of view with the Angels?
Yeah, Trout's a tough one. He is absolutely still vitally important for this lineup. It changes the dynamics of everything when he's slotted in there. I'm sure when you've got somebody coming up for the Angels, who do you not want to see there? It's Trout, right? When you're watching that lineup, regardless of how good these young guys can be, he's still the guy you don't want to be facing. Injuries have derailed massively. It's such a shame that we've seen the second half of his career go like this. He isn't the same player he was. He is not the 5-tool superstar that we saw for 10 years. But he's still a very good baseball player. He can still get on base. He has a great eye still. He has so much raw power. He's still going to be a guy I think will drop a bit deeper into the lineup. At the moment, he's still hitting third. I think if you hit him fifth, if you get some of these young guys on, I think he'll be a real important middle of the order bat if you can keep him healthy for a long time. And I think his future ultimately now is to go to DH. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but at some point they have to do everything they can to keep his bat in the lineup and let him just concentrate on being that important leader for the team. And that's what he is as well. I think Trout's an interesting character because he's not your obvious leader in terms of personality. He's a very chilled, laid-back guy that is quiet. The main reason he's probably stayed at the Angels is because he appreciates the environment he's in. He gets to live in Newport Beach. Nobody really bothers him. He gets to live like the lifestyle he wants. He wouldn't get that on the East Coast. He wouldn't have got that in Philly. He'd have been harassed. It's a different fan base. So I think the culture-wise, he loves it and he fits in perfectly. But he does still lead, even if it's not that vocal leader. How can you not? Anyone that's ever come to the Angels says, like, you just watch him, watch what he does, just admire like the ability as a baseball player and as a person. So he's a huge part of this future. I mean, I think everyone always talks about trading him, don't they? Every single year there's, the Angels should trade Mike Trout. He's not going anywhere. It doesn't make sense for any party to trade him. So he will be there till he retires.
Yeah, we've got some interesting thoughts about trades coming up, of course, because in the depths of where we are, we don't know what the Orioles are going to do. So it's good to hear that other teams that may have been a seller still keep the piece, the one piece that is the club. So Mike Trout is the LA Angels. The LA Angels is Mike Trout. We don't necessarily have that piece. And I think that everyone is then dispensable because there's no one that you go. Obviously, we've got the Gunnar Hendersons, we've got the Jackson Holidays, Adley Rushman, who the chairman of the fan club is on this pod because Thomas has been elected. He didn't want to be, but he's been there because. But we've got the pieces, but no one of those pieces is that's the one. We haven't got that Mike Trout, it'd be good to have one.
Do you not think Gunnar Henderson, for me, screams the one that could be that person? Do you not think... I mean, ultimately, you've got to change a habit of a lifetime and give him a big deal and keep him there and make him the face. But
and there's
he seems
the
to have
key.
everything that you'd want.
I think obviously with Gunnar, last season he was outstanding, and then he struggled this season. Well, we've discussed it. He didn't have a spring training. I think it was a spring training for the day that went down with an injury, so he didn't make opening day. And then we saw when he was coming back, when he came back into the side and to the lineup, he you could see he was having a spring training then. But we're into June now, and Gunnar is starting to do what Gunnar Henderson does in June, and he shows up and shows out.
He does. He's at 274 already, so we were struggling, but 274 is above league average, so he's already back to where the minimum that you'd expect from him.
On the subject of giving him a deal, up until opening day last year, funny enough, we played the Angels, and Mike Trout hit Corbin Burns out the park on the top of the second. That was that on the eve of that day was when we got took over by Mike Rubenstein. So we've had a lot of discussions about whether the O's are going to spend money. I've had a lot of journalists on from America and Andes. We've had them discussions with them, and the consensus is that number one, they are going to spend money in the summer on the bullpen, and they do think there's extensions coming. Gunnar Henderson, I think he's got another. I think he's free agent in 2029, so obviously his arbitration years under team control. But the issue is he's a Scott Boras client, and anybody who knows baseball knows Scott Boras likes to see. However, you look at the deal that the Royals did with Bobby Witt. Can we give Gunnar Henderson maybe a deal until... So give him an extra 3 years past, obviously, his team control, so to 2032. We keep him then for another 7 years.
Yeah.
He can then become a free agent. And, he can still go and get an even bigger deal somewhere else. However, with that, the Bobby Witt deal at Kansas City, they are going to be they're going to be on the hook for the rest of his contract if he goes 3 years into that. So that's what we need to be wary about.
Yeah. And remember, we had the best deal ever with Chris Davis that we're still paying for until about 2099. I think we pay his last $1 million.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of things. There was obviously rumours come out that Gunnar Henderson might have been offered a deal in the spring. Him and Adley Rushman sat down with Rubenstein, but them discussions are going to carry on for us. And look, we're not stupid. We know that we're not going to be able to extend Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Adley Rushman, and so on. It's just not going to happen. Unless you've got the financial backing, like the Dodgers or the Mets.
But the thing is, right, as far as I'm concerned, you do have that backing now, right? Your owner does have the funds for it, but it's changing a habit of a franchise, right? You've never done it. But he came in. I feel like he came in and full of promise and full of change, and we are going to do things differently here now. We are going to spend money. We are going to become a franchise that wants to be like the Yankees, that wants to compete every year and keep our best players and sign the best free agents. And it hasn't transpired. And I'm sure you talk about this all the time. I know your GM doesn't necessarily think along the same lines, but it feels like the potential is still there, even if we haven't seen it yet.
I think we overperformed in the first year, and that was probably a problem for them because I don't think they expected us to do so well so quickly. And that's actually when you then drop back, it means that the people like Gunnar and Adley suddenly go, oh, something's not right here. We haven't got the starting pitching that we were promised. And no one's actually promised all the starting pitching in the world, but you expected it. You expected to get upgrades. We had Corbin Burns. We dodged a bullet.
Now, yeah.
Absolutely. And I really feel sorry for him because he was an absolute ace for us last year and was absolutely brilliant and did exactly what was said on the tin. He came in and pitched really, really well. But we haven't gone and done the next one. I mean, Zach Eflin is pretty solid. He's a very, very good pitcher. Again, he'd be a number 2 or number 3 anywhere. But we haven't got that number 1. And that's what I think they're just stepping back and going, are you really there? Do you really want it? And the crowds at Baltimore are a bit volatile. You look at the TV pictures, and there's quite a lot of empty space. Saying that, the Mariners, I was very, very disappointed with the amount of people at the Mariners the other week because they're a good team, and they're nearly up with the Astros over in the West. But there were lots and lots of empty seats. Is that causing a problem across MLB as well?
I think, I mean, with us in this season, as you said, Nick, about the GM, and there's that potential there. We've discussed, as it currently stands, we are likely to be sellers at the deadline, but there is enough potential there. The key thing that they need to do, or what they did this season, I think they've gone into this season and gone, look, me and Andy discussed this on our last episode together. So the pitching free agency, there was only really 3 there. Yeah. Corbin Burns, Boucher, and Max Fried. Max Fried goes to the Yankees, lands in your division. Boucher goes to Boston, lands in your division.
Yeah.
And obviously, no matter, I know Corbin Burns came out and he was like, I didn't kind of get the structure of the deal. And at the bottom line, Corbin Burns was going nowhere else other than Arizona.
He just wanted to go home, didn't he?
Yeah, that's Arizona.
Fair play.
I think what they've done going into this season is they've looked at it and gone, at the time, Grayson Rodriguez was going to be fit. So we've got Grayson Rodriguez. We're bringing Tomoyuki Shigano. We're bringing Charlie Morton as that experience who can help out in the starting rotation. You've got Kyle Bradish coming back at some point in the season. Whether we're going to see him, I don't know. So I think they've gone with that will get us through, and the potential and the batting lineup. We've got enough there, and then you've come into the season. The first week 2, wasn't too bad, but there was warning signs there. Because there was games. I think out of the first 10 games, we were only winning games if we homered in that game. If we didn't homer, we were getting beaten. The bullpen was going out, wasn't getting a good start, and then your bats are coming to the plate, and they're like, Kyle Gibson in the Yankees, 4 home runs in the first inning, and you're like, you're coming off the bat now, and you're thinking, we just haven't got this year, disheartened. So I think going into this off season, I've had a look at the free agency tracker for pitching, and it's about 25 pages long. I just don't think there was enough there last year to make a big enough gamble. However, with what's gone on this year, not only they're going to have to make a gamble on one, but we need an ace. We need a number 1 guy. But we also need a number 2, because I think Tomoyuki Shigano is probably going to go at the trade deadline. Dean Kramer, Zach Eflin. Dean Kramer is Dean Kramer.
He's bog standard, league average. Gives you a good game, gives you a bad game.
Yeah, so you're going to have to go and get two aces in, and
they don't grow on trees, though. I mean,
no, absolutely, and that's it. There's not many aces around, and they go very expensively, and they're fragile. Yeah, and there's the other problem: the number of Tommy John surgeries we've seen. Well, even just for our starting pitchers, John Means, Felix Bautista, Grayson, all of them. It's a worry. Carl Bradish, it's a worrying way forward. And that's why I think everyone stands away a bit nervously when you go, we're going to pay 7-year contract for this. And you go, really? What happens if he gets injured in year 1 and he might not ever come back? Yeah. But fair play to the pitcher, because he knows that as well. So he will make sure he signs a contract that's going to make sure he's okay.
Nick, we're aware that you're wary for time. Look, we appreciate you coming on. We obviously appreciate the work you do spreading the name of the Angels and obviously MLB Clubhouse. Before you go, give us a prediction for the series.
I think the Angels.
I can edit this out as well, so.
Yeah, we can make you say anything. And we can make you even look like a child. He can do that as well.
I think the Angels take 2 out of 3. I think tonight's the crunch. I think it can go either way. I think we win the Kikuchi start on Sunday. Although I would say we're not very good on day games. We're not very good on Sunday games. We seem to lose every
That's all right.
week.
It's Capovich. You'll be all right.
I like to think we win that one. I think tonight's one is the one I can't decide. I think you might win the Saganu one tomorrow. But yeah, I'll go 2-1 Angels. And we 11-10 tonight.
No, it's not 11:10. It's 12:05. But however, and it's on Apple TV, unfortunately. But that's fine. So I've got that as well. So I'm sure I'll be up. No, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you and getting your view. It's good to get similar views, but very different from a different perspective. And if we don't get sleep watching the Orioles when we're on the East Coast, your life must be hell if you're watching some of those Angels games.
You can see outside down there.
3 o'clock, and that's after a day off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on, Nick.
Cheers, guys. I hope we speak again soon and enjoy the weekend.
We will,
Cheers, mate. Thank
hopefully.
You. Take care. So, interesting that, wasn't it, Andy?
Absolutely. I always enjoy other people coming on with the same interests but different. He's got exactly the same. He's got the MLB way of looking at it. He loves watching MLB. He went out to Disneyland, saw it in 2002. Guess what? The same story can be reeled out time and time again. And the Angels are really similar to us. They're almost a mirror image. You look at their start and the way they've gone. Very, very interesting. I think we'll win the series 2-1, but that's without him here. I think we'll win tonight, and I think Sagano will win as well. I just get very worried when Capovich gets rolled out these days.
Yeah, and on the subject of Capovich, we'll go and have a look at this Detroit series now that we've just had, which obviously on paper you've lost the series 2-1. I don't think it's as black and white in that.
No, I agree. And to be fair, we would have taken 2-1 if you'd have said to us a week ago, and indeed we did. If you'd have said 2-1 and you'll do all right, you won't have any real major problems, we'd have taken it. We didn't really have many problems, but a couple of dodgy innings, and that's what you alluded to earlier. We look at game one. We're doing all right. Only three runs conceded. We can cope with 3 runs. It's when it was 5s and 6s.
As you say, game one. So it gives up one in the second. We get one back in the third.
Yep.
And then you're back to level pen going into the fourth, and then all right, he only gives up one in the fourth. But then the fifth, it's what you see from Capovich.
Absolutely, it makes it 5-1. The only good thing from that is the old Orioles would throw in that orange flag and capitulate, and we wouldn't be losing 5-1. We'd be losing 18-1. But we're seeing a bit more fight. I was impressed with Cano when he came on. He seems to have gone through his rocky patch and come through it. He fanned 3. Our batters are working hard. Jackson's doing well still. Adley's getting better. Westy, he is absolutely the key to our team. And I remember looking at the stats that we're a stupid percentage when he plays against. I batting up playing over 600 when Westy is in the lineup, which is great. He got a nice home run. We got closer, just not enough. We only had 6 hits on the day. Not terrible against Detroit. However, what could have been if we didn't have that rocky inning from Cage.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking, obviously we said going into that series we take 2-1 here, and I always thought that first game was huge because then on game 2 you've got Casey Mize, and then on game 3 you've got probably the runaway Cy Young winner again. And so I wasn't expecting. I thought game 2 was going to be a lot tougher, but
we kept it close all the time, didn't we? All the way through to the 8th. We're only what 2-1 up at that point. Urias is one of the best players this season, to be fair. But looking at
278.
Exactly, I was just looking at before we
with
came on
with an OPS of 0.712.
But his career is at 263. So actually, he's a really good hitter constantly. We overlook him because we always had Jorge Mateo, he used to flash the leather a bit more. But Urias can really do it. He is, as Jim Palmer will tell you every time, he's Gold Glover, and absolutely he doesn't make errors, and he makes plays that others can't. And then he's popping the ball over the fence, two-run home run. It really is good. And the thing is, we were close. We kept it close, and then we exploded. And we haven't seen many explosions. I think that's the most we've hit in an inning this season. 8 runs in the 8th.
I mean, look, 6 of them 8 runs in the 8th came when we had 2 outs.
2 outs. Which is the old Orioles. That's what we used to do. How many times were we 2 out, a 2-out base hit, a 2-out home run? That's where we really come into our own.
Not only just getting the big hits, but getting the singles, the doubles, working a walk, and then you start to put pressure on in the infield, then, and you can see a few mistakes, and the ball not getting thrown to home. Gunnar Henderson had himself an absolute night. Outstanding. I thought Jackson Holiday again, bark in the park. 3 things certain in life: death, taxes. Jackson Holiday teared it up at Bark in the Park.
And Westy does as well. But a great play from Urias, throwing the player out of the home plate in that earlier in the game. It's things like that's the Orioles coming back towards where they should be. Unfortunately, we just hit the I was going to call them the Lions then, but no, we'll call them the Tigers. We hit them right at the wrong time again. They're absolutely running away with it, and they with Scuba, when we come to game 3, you've got very little chance when you've got that. And again, it was just 1 inning, wasn't it? 2 home runs in the 4th. That was the only runs of the whole game for Detroit. So we held it. The bullpen was great. We just didn't have that last piece of the puzzle.
Bullpen has been outstanding, and it's scary to think
where would we be without them. It's worrying because we could bring CNL back.
A paddle.
We could bring CNL back up. We could bring Matt Bowman back up. Yeah, there's the improvements we've got. If we can keep a steady bullpen, there's not even a player that you think he'll be down next. Actually, if we can get the starting pitchers through 6 and 7, the bullpen is stable. The problem starts coming when you're having to put people into the game in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th inning and go back to back to back like Bautista, and that really makes them struggle.
Yeah, I know there was a few people concerned yesterday, obviously, with the show that Kramer had been scratched from the start and Keegan Aiken was going to start.
I just think they're trying stuff.
I liked it. You're going up against the runaway Cy Young video. You've got a 1.99 ERA.
You've got to do something different, haven't you?
Pitched the shutout the other week, and his final pitch of that shutout was 102.6, the fastest pitch of the game. This is who you're going up against.
Try different things. I've never been a fan of a starter or an opener, but when you look at their lineup and you think, well, I can see a bit of a point. You put Aiken, who is a top pitcher, top 1 and 2/3, maybe if you're lucky, maybe 2 innings. If you can get through that, it gives Kramer something a bit different to look at. Go try it, and unfortunately, it worked for Aiken. Did well. Didn't work for Kramer because in the 4th, 4 runs.
Yeah, he's just. I said the other day to Grant, like, sometimes you look at Dean Kramer and you're like, yeah. And then other times you look and go, how is he still part of this rotation?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I was saying to Nick about going into this off season. We don't just need the ace. We need a number 2 that can back him up, because
Yeah.
we just haven't got that at all.
No, it could be Grayson. To be fair, Grayson could be that number 2.
You've got obviously you've got Bradish coming. My concern is with Bradish. Not only has he had Tommy John, he's had an internal brace fitted, and you look at the success rate of people coming back from Tommy John
It's
and then looking
as
from
brilliant.
internal brace. It's not. So that is my concern for next. And can Grayson stay fit? And know that is he going to be back this year? He's probably going to pitch the end of August, maybe September.
And is it worth him coming back to pitch in August and September? There's the other question. There's
if there's
two sides to the
play for,
you could, because there's no pressure, or you might not, because there's no pressure, and therefore there's no absolute need. It's not like last year where you need to have someone in because we need to have someone pitching every 5 days. Is it the time to try things? But then you don't want to burn out your AAA pitchers that are not quite there yet. And I mean, we've spoken about Kate Povich a little bit, but I'm very worried that I don't think he's going to be here for much longer before they send him down.
I think
before they destroy him, maybe, because they could just keep going and keep going. I was unlucky enough to see Cade pitch over at Oakland last year, and he imploded in, I think, the first inning and gave up 8, 9, 10 runs. He has that ability to do that. On his day, he can be brilliant, but we don't see many brilliant days.
There will obviously become a point where, I mean, I don't know what order it's going to. The logical order would be they'll probably drop him down to AAA, continue working him out as a starter, but then eventually bring him back up, see if it's working, and then I think at that point, if it's not,
it's bullpen.
And I know Grant kind of thinks the same from having a discussion with the other day. He could be sneakily good in the bullpen because
long arm left-hander is valuable.
And if he can get the curve going and obviously the control, imagine him coming in 6, 7.
You put Zach Eflin in for the first 5 or first 6 right-handed, and then you bring a long man in that can do 2 or 3 innings left-handed. That really turns the lineups over, which has got to be a good thing. Or even on the shorter starts where Charlie Morton's only gone 2. You bring in the opposite. You bring in a left-hander to muck everyone up. Get rid of all these matchups that we're not good at doing anyway.
No, and, I think that... I was thinking maybe we might have seen Trevor Rogers again this week. Yeah. I know he pitched it. He pitched it the weekend, but I know we got spanked everywhere, I think, in the first 2 innings. I mean, look, going back to the subject of the bats... I was just looking through it. You've got last night's lineup. Rushman's now averaging 225 at OPS of 685.
Yep.
Henderson averaged 274. Laureano 267. Urias 273. O'Hearn 307. Jackson Holiday 265.
That's really good numbers.
Obviously,
it's just that next bit, isn't it? It's
left-handers.
It is. You've then got. Cowser 188. You've got Mullins 233, Mayo 139. Handley, unfortunately, is going very soon. I like Handley. He's a great defensive catcher. But when you're batting at 081, you've got to get your second catcher to at least get you 200.
Yeah.
We still miss James McCann, don't we? Let's face it.
Yeah, as we've discussed, it's a deal that just didn't make sense at the time, and looking now, it just doesn't. It
even less sense. Maybe Gary Sanchez does come in and gives you the third day, because Adley does need that third day off. To rest his weary legs.
He needs a proper day off as well, not just the ancient.
No,
I mean, I don't know whether I know some teams do it, but it is rare. Could we carry 3 catches for a period of time?
I think the only time you can do that is when Samuel Basallo comes up from...
Basallo comes up.
Yeah, because he's a first baseman as well. So he can do both. So it's a big risk having 3 catches because you lose something. You lose your fifth outfielder, you lose your 5th infielder. If you've got someone that can do first base as well, but... he's rocking and rolling at AAA at the moment. Was it 14 home runs now? I
think
can't
15.
15.
I think he went yard again yesterday.
So it's not going to be long before he's knocking on the door. And I think you may be right that you end up with 3 catchers because you can leave Adley completely out. He needs those. Keeping wicket at a cricket match. After it, you're absolutely finished. And he does that day in, day out, every single day, 9 innings.
It's 300 pitches.
Absolutely. And the bullpen and all the other stuff and all the it must really grind on the joints. So he doesn't every so often needs a day off. I think he'll benefit from it. There's also talk about maybe him stopping switch hitting because that it can be a strength, absolute. It can be a weakness because you end up playing every day. Cedric became a much better player when he decided not to switch anymore.
I would like to see Russian probably explore that option.
It's going to be a big decision. Don't get me wrong, because it's one of his big selling points, isn't it?
Yeah, a player I also want to have a conversation about. There's going to be, and again, there's another decision looming with players coming back off the IL. He just keeps doing a job whenever he's asked of. Last night,
Dylan Carlson,
and I was again speaking to Grant last night. I think Grant said last night that there is a genuine argument now of do you hold off on O'Neill a bit. I know he sat out yesterday with some shoulder soreness down.
Do you stretch him out a little bit, literally, so that his injury takes a bit longer? Not suggesting that they might want to do that, but it delays that decision. I'm with you. I like Carlson a lot. He's got the outfield. He's a switch hitter. He had 3 out of our 4 hits last night. So he can do it. We need to remember he's a number 1 draft pick. He has the stuff. He just hasn't been able to show it. So he's got a very, very high upside, I think.
And I think you look at, I haven't got his game stats up, but last night was his 4th home run, his 12th RBI. We haven't seen an awful lot of them.
No.
But every time we see him, he is getting the RBIs. He is hitting. He is going yard.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I don't see him going down. But someone's got to. I mean, Vasquez is going to be an easy one. I think he'll be gone shortly. And Handley will go down. And we can't disagree with that one really, because even if Gary Sanchez gives you 200, it's a big improvement. That's a hit every 10. So hit every 10 better than Handley, that is. But yeah, it's going to be some interesting times. But yeah, Tyler O'Neill, always going to be a difficult one for me to understand why we gave him the deal we did. And this is where sometimes Elias will go, see, this is what happens when you do a big deal. And you go, yeah, but you chose the wrong player.
Yeah, you chose a player who
is injury prone.
And I think...
And is streaky.
His first season up with the Cardinals, played 60. You'll give him that. It's his first season up in the bigs.
Yep.
Second season, played 60. I think he then played 80, and then he played 100. And then the only other time he's played over 100 games, he's only done it twice in his career. 1 season down at the Cardinals, and 1 season at the Red Sox.
And you've also hit the nail on. It's 1 season here, it's 1 season there, it's 1 season. Yeah. There's no I need to keep him. There's no Anthony Santander who we shouldn't forget was a Rule 5, and we brought him in and kept him. He was never league average on average, but he had something, didn't he? He had that pop. He had the grand slam in him. He had the support. Great Britain's favourite Oriole for a long while. We haven't got one anymore. We need to find one.
Yeah, we definitely do. I think just the last one on O'Neill, as you say, it is streaky. It's a year there. I mean, you sign him to a 3-year deal. Law of averages will say, looking back at his career in the big leagues,
he's going to give you one.
Probably 1 year, and you give it.
It's not this one.
And it's not a club option, it's a player option. So what do you think he is going to do at the end of the season?
O'Neill, you've been rubbish. Will you consider not coming back? That's all right. Well,
Yeah,
I'll come back.
I'll take the other 30 million over the next 2 years. Thank you very much.
And we'll end up DFAing him like we did with Gibson, and give him lots of money.
Yeah,
And he'll go,
look,
and no doubt he'll go and play for the New York Yankees or something like that, and then batter us next time we're at Yankee Stadium, which is not far away.
no, it's back end of next week, isn't it? So obviously the Angels, and then it's a weird one. We're on the four in Tampa, and they're all late night games.
Yep. As I said to Nick earlier, we're in this spate of late night games where there's not much doing. It really does drain the British fan base when you get these long sessions. However, they're not only here for us. Let's face it. It'd be nice if the baseball was right around English time, but it's not. We've got a better time tomorrow. We've got 9:00, and we've got a nice day game on Sunday, which it's always nice watching on a Sunday evening. But then we're back to the nights again.
Yeah, so we'll look ahead to the Rays and obviously the Yankees next week. What's your positive, Andy?
So positive. I'm going to go with Jordan Westberg. I believe that his influence, especially coming up against two left-handed pitchers this weekend, if Westy can do the normal, bring back what he normally does, the team is a much better team with him, whether he's playing third base or second base. He can spell Holiday occasionally. I mean, we saw it last night with Holiday DHing. I also think we should spell Henderson a little bit and give Jackson a chance at shortstop, which is his natural position. We've said it on the pod before, Henderson against left-handed pitching is not brilliant at the moment, whereas Jackson doesn't matter if it's left, right, or both hands.
I think obviously you see with Jackson, they just let him play against left-handed, or maybe I say Gunnar is still, he's batting 274 with 779 OPS.
What would he be if he was only batting against right-handed pitchers, which is still the majority? But it's easy for us to sit here and criticise and say, but positives, absolutely Westberg, and we'll win the series 2-1.
I'm gonna go with the bullpen. As I said, I'd hate to think how down at the Dolphins we would be without this bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. We need them to fire on all cylinders, and they are firing at the moment. We mentioned Cano and others, but they're all doing well at the moment.
And going into tonight and tomorrow, if we can win tonight without using Bautista, he goes into tomorrow with a kind of a tighter pitching matchup for ourselves, where he's on. I think he'll be on 4 days rest. He didn't pitch the last 2 games. Obviously the Tigers. He was warming up for game 2, and then obviously he got scratched because
you don't need him to. And I think he might have learned a little from that, because we in the earlier games he did come in and pitch, and we ended up losing him for the 3rd game over in Oakland.
So hopefully, no City. So tonight I'll be watching, even if it's on Apple TV. Look, Andy, thank you very much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a great episode. I enjoyed speaking to Nick. We'll probably do more stuff with MLB Clubhouse as we go on, some meetups. Yeah,
as I said, it's good to have someone else. It also gives us a bit of flow as well, because we can talk to him about upcoming series. So all good, and let's keep it going.
So, and listeners, thank you very much for listening, watching, tuning in. Just make sure you keep liking, downloading the stream, sharing the links, follow us on all socials. Keep subscribing to the YouTube. We're trying to get the YouTube to match where we're at across all the others. So thank you very much. We've been O's Across the Pond, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye, Andy.
Cheers.
That's it for this episode of O's Across the Pond, bringing Birdland to Europe 1 episode at a time. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow along as we keep the Orioles conversation going from this side of the Atlantic. Until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and let's go O's!